Oh my God. What am I going to do now? $847,000. That's what I lost trusting the wrong people in the wrong country at the wrong time. I'm Robert, and I thought I'd found the perfect retirement haven in Costa Rica until I learned that some investments are designed to steal your future, not secure it. What happened next will change how you think about retiring abroad forever. At 67, I should have been sipping morning coffee on my deck in Ohio, watching my grandchildren play in the yard. Instead, I was sitting in a lawyer's office in San Jose, staring at documents that proved my entire retirement fund had vanished into thin air. But let me start from the beginning, because this disaster didn't happen overnight. After 43 years as a manufacturing supervisor in Cleveland, I'd saved every penny I could for retirement. My 401k had grown to $520,000. I had $180,000 in savings, and I owned my house outright worth $147,000. Total assets, $847,000. Not rich, but enough to live comfortably for the rest of my life. My wife Margaret passed away 3 years ago, and the empty house felt like a tomb. My daughter Sarah lived in California with her family, and my son Michael was stationed overseas with the Navy. I was alone with my memories and my money, wondering what to do with the rest of my life. That's when I discovered Costa Rica through a retirement magazine. Live better for less, the headline promised. Your dollar goes further in paradise. The article painted a picture of perfect weather, affordable healthcare, friendly people, and a cost of living that could stretch my retirement fund for decades. I booked a 2-week exploratory trip to the Guanacaste province, specifically to the beach town of Tamarindo. The moment I stepped off the plane, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years. Hope, the warm air, the brilliant sunshine, the laid-back atmosphere. It was everything Ohio wasn't. During that first visit, I met Diego Morales at a beachside restaurant. He was an American expat who'd moved to Costa Rica 5 years earlier, and he seemed to have everything figured out. Expensive watch, designer clothes, a new Mercedes parked outside. "You're doing this retirement thing all wrong," Diego said, ordering another round of imperial beers. "You're thinking like a tourist, not an investor. Costa Rica isn't just a place to spend your money. It's a place to multiply it." He told me about his investment company, Tropical Wealth Partners, which specialized in helping American retirees grow their money through Costa Rican real estate development. "We're not talking about stocks or bonds," he explained. "We're talking about real projects, real properties, real returns." Diego showed me glossy brochures of planned resort developments, condominium projects, and commercial properties. The projected returns were incredible, 18–24% annually guaranteed. "The Costa Rican government is backing these developments," he said. "Tourism is booming, and American retirees are flooding in. You can't lose." I should have walked away. I should have remembered that if something sounds too good to be true, it probably is. But Diego was so confident, so knowledgeable about local laws and regulations. He introduced me to other American investors who showed me their monthly statements, 5-figure returns on 6-figure investments. "I started with $200,000 2 years ago," said Frank, a retired teacher from Michigan. "Now I'm making $4,000 a month in passive income. My wife and I live like royalty here." The presentations were professional, complete with legal documents, government permits, and architectural plans. Diego's office was in a modern building in San Jose, with a full staff and all the trappings of legitimacy. But the real hook came when Diego offered me something special. A ground floor opportunity in a new luxury resort project called Vista Pacifica. "I'm only offering this to select clients," he said. "I'm only offering this to select clients. The minimum investment is usually $500,000, but I like you, Robert. You remind me of my father. I'll let you in for $400,000. The documents looked official. Environmental impact studies, construction permits, government approvals. Everything seemed legitimate. The resort was being built on a spectacular piece of oceanfront property, with private beaches, championship golf course, and luxury villas. You'll own a percentage of the entire development, Diego explained. As we sell units, you'll receive your share of the profits. Conservative estimates show a 300% return over 5 years. I flew back to Ohio with my head spinning. 300% return? That would turn my $400,000 into $1 million. Even if the projections were half wrong, I'd still double my money while living in paradise. I called my financial advisor, Jim Peterson, who'd managed my money for 15 years. "Robert, this sounds like a scam," he said bluntly. "International investments are risky enough without getting involved with people you barely know. But I'd done my research. I'd met other investors, seen the documents, visited the construction site. This wasn't some get-rich-quick scheme. It was a legitimate business opportunity in a growing market. I liquidated $400,000 from my retirement accounts and wired the money to Tropical Wealth Partners. The transaction went smoothly, and within a week, I received my investor documents, complete with my ownership percentage and projected returns. Diego called me monthly with updates. Construction was ahead of schedule, pre-sales were exceeding expectations, and my investment was performing beautifully. "We should see your first distribution check within 6 months, he promised. Encouraged by the positive reports, I decided to invest another $200,000 in a second project, a commercial shopping center in the tourist district of Manuel Antonio. Same guarantees, same professional presentation, same promises of exceptional returns. By now, I'd invested $600,000 of my $847,000 retirement fund. I kept $247,000 liquid for living expenses and emergencies, but I was confident that my investments would generate enough income to cover my costs. I sold my house in Ohio and moved to a rental condo in Tamarindo. Life was good. I had a maid, a gardener, and enough money to enjoy restaurants, travel, and the expat social scene. My monthly expenses were about $2,500, easily covered by my remaining savings, while I waited for my investment returns. The first red flag came in month 8. Diego called to explain that there had been unexpected delays in the Vista Pacifica project. "Bureaucratic issues," he said. "You know how government approvals work down here. Everything takes longer than expected." The second red flag was when my calls to Diego started going to voicemail. His assistant, Maria, would promise he'd call back, but days would pass without contact. When we finally spoke, Diego seemed rushed and distracted. "Listen, Robert, I need to ask you something," he said during our last conversation. "We have an opportunity to fast-track the Vista Pacifica project, but we need additional capital. If you could invest another $150,000, we could break ground next month, instead of waiting for more government approvals." I was down to $247,000 in liquid assets. Investing another $150,000 will leave me with less than $100,000 for living expenses. "I need to think about it," I told him. "Don't think too long," Diego said. "This window closes in 48 hours. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something felt wrong. I'd invested $600,000. And hadn't seen a penny in returns. The projects that were supposed to be generating income had produced nothing but excuses and delays. I drove to the Vista Pacifica construction site the next morning. What I found chilled me to the bone. The site was empty. No workers, no equipment, no construction activity. Just a few concrete foundations and a rusted chain-link fence. I confronted Diego at his office. "Where is the construction crew?" I demanded. "Where are the workers? Where is my money?" Diego's demeanor changed completely. Gone was the friendly, confident businessman. In his place was a nervous, evasive stranger. "Robert, you need to understand. Construction projects have ups and downs. This is temporary." "Show me the bank statements," I said. "Show me where my money went." I can't do that, Diego replied. Client confidentiality, you understand. That's when I knew I'd been scammed. $600,000 of my retirement fund had disappeared into Diego's pockets, and there was no construction project, no resort development, no investment opportunity. Just elaborate lies and professional-looking documents. I hired a local attorney, Carlos Mendez, who specialized in investment fraud cases. After reviewing my contracts, he gave me the devastating news. Mr. Robert, I'm sorry to tell you this, but your money is gone. The company you invested with has no assets, no real projects, and no way to pay you back. The investigation revealed that Tropical Wealth Partners was a sophisticated Ponzi scheme. Diego had been using money from new investors to pay returns to earlier investors, creating the illusion of success. When the scheme collapsed, dozens of American retirees lost their life savings. The Vista Pacifica project never existed. The property Diego had shown me was government-protected land where construction was prohibited. The permits and approvals were forgeries. Even the other investors who'd shown me their statements were part of the scam. Paid actors who helped convince new victims to invest. I filed criminal charges, but Diego had already fled the country. His real name wasn't even Diego Morales. It was David Morrison, a convicted con man from Florida who'd reinvented himself in Costa Rica. The civil lawsuit dragged on for 2 years and cost me another $30,000 in legal fees. In the end, we recovered nothing. The company's assets had been transferred to offshore accounts, and the real estate they claimed to own was either non-existent or already mortgaged to other victims. At 69, I found myself starting over with less than $100,000 to my name. My retirement dreams had become a retirement nightmare. I couldn't afford to stay in Costa Rica, and I couldn't afford to return to Ohio. I'm sharing this story because investment scams targeting retirees are epidemic in popular expat destinations. The scammers are sophisticated, professional, and convincing. They prey on our desire to make our money last longer, to enjoy our golden years without financial worry. If you're considering investing abroad, remember, legitimate investments don't require pressure tactics or urgent decisions. Always verify permits and approvals with government agencies directly. Never invest more than you can afford to lose completely. And most importantly, if someone promises guaranteed returns that seem too good to be true, run. Don't walk, run. Your retirement savings depend on it. My $847,000 lesson cost me everything. But if it saves even one person from the same fate, then maybe it wasn't a complete loss. Paradise exists, but it's not for sale. And anyone trying to sell it to you is lying.